Disciplinary matter, Basha Cafe LLC, doing business as Basha Cafe, Sarah Shaban, manager, holder of an all-alcoholic beverages restaurant license at 26 New Street for alleged violations of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 23, Rules 14 and 32 of the Rules and Regulations of the Cambridge License Commission, and Rule 3 of the recommendations of the Alcohol, Cap, and Economic Development Task Force. This hearing is being held due to the owner-manager's failure without excuse to attend the previously scheduled hearing on August 11th. The investigator's findings that the main manager was not on the premises on the occasions he inspected, and the presence on the premises in an apparent managerial capacity of an unlicensed and unapproved individual at the times of the investigator's visits.
So, what I'd like to do is start with the investigator. If you could come forward and state what his reports and inspections consisted of.
Henderson Dudley, License and Investigators, License Commission, City of Cambridge. I have 3 reports that have been previously read into the record. So you want to read them again?
Yes, please.
Okay, this investigation was completed on November 18th, 2014. And it reads, please be advised that this establishment was investigated as instructed. The owner manager of record, Sarah Shavana, was not present. The prospective new owner was also not present. His name is Tesfaye Andarge. Nevertheless, I spoke with Atanu Tedeschi, Tesfaye's brother. I posed various questions to him. He stated that he would be assisting his brother in the future. According to Atanu, ownership has not changed. Atanu reiterated that Sarah is still the owner of record and is in charge of all operations. He also stated that new events were not scheduled. In addition, no DJ or other forms of entertainment were also not in future programming. Atanu reiterated that his prospective new management is only in training regarding kitchen operations, Cambridge rules and regulations, customer care and development, and generally receiving guidance as a precursor to taking over at some point in the future. At the time of this investigation, there were only 4 customers on the premises. So that was the first investigation. Another investigation took place on January 14, 2015. And again, it states, please be advised that this establishment was investigated as instructed. The owner and manager of record, Sarah Shavana, was not present. However, the prospective new owner was present. His name is Tesfaye Andarge. I inquired about his ownership status. He reiterated that Sarah is still the owner manager of record. He advised that she stops by on various days and at different times. According to Tesfaye, there is no consistent day or time for Sarah's arrival to the establishment. He also asserted that she's in charge of all operations. Tesfaye claimed that he is still in training relative to kitchen operations, Cambridge rules and regulations, customer care and development, and receiving guidance as a precursor to taking over at some point in the future. There were only 6 customers on the premises. There was no DJ, dancing, or other forms of live entertainment observed. However, a television with Ethiopian programming was observed. A final investigation occurred on May 16, 2015, and it reads, please be advised that the Basha Cafe establishment was investigated again on May 16, 2015. However, nothing has changed from the previously submitted report on January 14, 2015.
Can you say the date again? On what?
However, nothing has changed from the previously submitted report on January 14, 2015. The owner manager of record, Sarah Shavana, was not present during my visit. However, the prospective new owner, Tesfaye Andarge, was present. Again, I inquired about his ownership status, and he reiterated that Sarah is still the owner manager of record. He also also advised that she stops by on various days at different times. According to Tesfaye, there's no consistent day or time for Sarah's arrival to the establishment. He also asserted that she's in charge of all operations. And this last part is consistent with previous investigations. Tesfaye claimed that he is still in training relative to kitchen operations, Cambridge rules and regulations, customer care and development, and receiving guidance as a precursor to taking over at some point in the future. During this investigation, there were only 9 customers on the premises. Again, there was no DJ, dancing, or other forms of live entertainment observed. However, as stated in previous investigations, a television with Ethiopian programming was observed. So this concludes basically the 3 times I visited and observed this location. And this was previously read into the record last time.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the investigator at this time by the commissioners?
What were the times on those dates that you, November, January, May?
Generally after 10 o'clock, between 10 and 12:30.
Okay. Thank you.
AM or PM?
PM. Of course, 12:30 a.m. and local traffic past midnight.
On your last 2 inspections, you indicated you met with a prospective owner about these stuff. He identified himself in that capacity to you
He identified himself as the person in training.
in training?
And he mentioned consistently that he was just there in training and he hasn't officially taken over. That Sarah was still in manager of record. And he was consistent with that.
And he was very clear about the fact that you spoke to him that the current owner-manager did not show up on a regular basis, did not have a set schedule, and would come and go on occasion.
He reiterated that she comes and goes, and she comes from time to time. He couldn't really pin down the exact times, but he did say that she does show up periodically throughout the week.
Okay. So Basha Cafe is here. Would you like to come up and be heard on this matter?
Well, thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chairman. For the record, James Rafferty, appearing on behalf of the licensee. Seated to my left is Sarah Shabana, S-H-A-B-A-N-A. Ms. Shabana is the manager of record on the license and also manager of Basha Cafe LLC, the owner and licensee. We are in receipt of a notice dated August 28th. If we could have that marked for the record, that's the notice which is informing the licensee of the violations. We have heard the testimony of the investigator and have no factual dispute which was contained there. In the notice, the first issue identified in the notice deals with Ms. Shabana's failure to appear before the commission at the hearing on August 11th. I'd like to begin by taking responsibility for that failure of Ms. Shabana to appear. She did receive a notice to attend an informational hearing for July 21st. She received that on June 30th of this year. I was retained in the matter the day before the hearing, but I had a conflict and I requested a continuance, and the commission granted a continuance until the August 11th date. I was here on August 11th, as was investigator Headley, and Ms. Shabana was not. And it was surprising to me that she was not here, and I speculated at that time that there may have been a communication error. And at that time, the informational hearing proceeded without Ms. Shabana being present. The report that was read tonight was read at that time. I've since gone back to my office and ascertained not inform Ms. Shabana of the change date. My assumption was that she knew about it, that we let her know that the continuance had been granted. So I want to begin by acknowledging my culpability, my office's responsibility for failing to inform Ms. Shabana of that issue. As it turned out, she had long-standing plans made and was scheduled to be on a cruise that night. So her failure to be here was not any act of negligence on her part or disrespect for the commission. It was, frankly, she was unaware of the hearing. I recognize that was a licensee's obligation through their agent. The commission was accommodating to my schedule, and I regret that a communication failure on my part, that of my office, caused this confusion. So Ms. Shabana was not here. So that's the first issue cited in the notice. The second issue in the notice talks about an illegal or unauthorized transfer of the license. I would respectfully suggest that there's no evidence for the commission to support such a finding. There is certainly uncontroverted evidence that on 3 occasions Ms. Shabana was not present, and we do not dispute that. She is the manager of record, but there are a few items that I would suggest are telling in the investigator's report. The first is the few number of patrons that have been in the establishment. It was the January visit occurred in the height of the worst winter that anyone has experienced in recent memory. The restaurant was closed regularly, lots of snow on the weekends. In Ms. Shabana's appearances during the winter months were irregular at best. She acknowledges that there were few customers, there wasn't much activity. She stays in regular contact with the employees at the restaurant, but that she certainly was not there on those evenings, and she said there was serious consideration given this winter to close of the business. On the other 2 occasions when the investigator reports being there, he also notes that patronage was less than 10 patrons. I'm not offering that as an absolution, but merely as context to the irregular nature of Ms. Shabana's appearances at the premises. There simply had not been enough business. She does have another job, and she, however, is now, in light of this and because of this, intends to be more regular and has been more regular in her presence on the premises. We're very mindful of the obligations associated with the role of manager, the requirements associated with the duties incumbent upon the manager, and those are responsibilities that Ms. Shabana takes seriously. There have not been any violations during this period of time that are referred to in the report, but admittedly Ms. Shabana has not been there on as consistent a basis as I think the Commission would anticipate or expect. The other piece of context here is the pending application to transfer this license. There was an application filed some time ago in October. I noticed a communication in June from the Executive Director indicating that there hadn't been any action taken on it. This transaction has become somewhat mired in the challenges associated with the Commission's policy involved with non-transferable licenses. There was a point in time when the Commission had no value licenses. They then added a stipulation a few years ago about non-transferable licenses. Frankly, it's, from a regulatory perspective, it presents a bit of a challenge as to what a business owner can do if they wish to sell the business. And it's clearly Ms. Shabana's intention that she wishes to sell this business. We've explored selling the LLC, the interest in the LLC, to the new operator, to the proposed operator. We have a contract to sell, but we have not been able to proceed on that because the transfer application would require that the operation cease conducting business, because this commission cannot approve a license in a location that currently has a license. And I would hope that at some point, in this case may prove to be the impetus, the commission will revisit this policy of non-transferable licenses. I would tell you, in the eyes of the ABCC, there's a license is issued. When licenses get transferred, when they get issued, and in order for, it's an interesting constraint placed upon the license, which I think frankly conflicts with the larger policy issues associated with the transfer process. Namely that the Department of Revenue has to provide a tax clearance for existing licensees and proposed licensees. And it's a very effective mechanism by which the Commonwealth collects any unpaid meals tax or other taxes that are owed. In a situation where the license isn't transferable, the license gets canceled and a new license is applied for, in which case that safety check on transfer goes away. So it is an unusual situation, and it has complicated the ability to conduct one of these transactions. So Ms. Shabana will be on the premises regularly, but we are intending to activate the transfer application. I met with the proposed transferee in his council yesterday. Mr. Goldberg indicated that we needed to bring this issue to a head. We're going to have to take direction from the commission, but something needs to happen. The restaurant has to close in order to, it seems unusual to have to close the restaurant in order to apply for a new license.
If I could interrupt for a second, when you said Mr. Goldberg, you don't mean me.
Very good point. No, we do not meet. We met this. The Goldberg name in legal circles in Cambridge has a long and distinguished reputation, and contributed significantly by your own involvement as a city solicitor. But there are two gentlemen, twin brothers, identical twin brothers, that have been toiling in the vineyards of Central Square for more than 50 years in the thankless job of a sole practitioner.
And I am not related to those two Goldbergs.
I'm sure that's a regret on your part, because I can assure you, if you were, you would have the benefit of a wonderful family affiliation. But Mr. Goldberg, indeed, is representing the proposed transfer. We reviewed the terms of the purchase and sale agreement. We committed to advance the transfer, and we are looking forward to meeting with Ms. Lent and your staff and determining how one can go about this issue of transferring the license. If the conclusion is the restaurant has to close, it is burdensome, but that's one option. We would like to consider the sale of the LLC, which holds this license. That's regarded in some areas as a transfer as well, but we need to explore that. We're eager to explore that. But that's the long and short of the two issues before the commission. The failure to appear is completely my fault, and I regret that my client has been placed in this position as a result of an oversight on my part. And I apologize to her, and I apologize to the commission for that. The second part, as I said, Investigator Headley does a thorough job. His powers of observation are acute. She was not there on the 3 evenings, but one of them was in the depths of a winter where there was little business. So as the business atrophied over time, Ms. Shabana has spent less time on the premises just because there didn't seem to be as much need for her to be present. She has telephonic communications. I believe she does them nearly daily. There are times she's there during the daytime when ordering is done and other business matters are attended to. But in the evening, when there's only a few people in the restaurant, the business restaurant, she has not been present as regularly as I'm sure the commission would expect the manager to do. So we're going to modify that in terms of her own behavior and time on the premise in the immediate instance. And secondly, we're going to proceed with the transfer or whatever method of conveyance we're advised we should pursue.
Questions?
So what are our typical hours now for being president of the restaurant? What's our scheduled hours typically?
She is there a few days a week, generally during the daytime. She tells me that for the latter part of the afternoon. She has not been there on a consistent basis in the evening for several weeks.
So when she's not there, who's in charge?
The other employees that are present. I mean, she's not there. I mean, many restaurants operate, I'm sure the commission knows, without a manager, and we have multiple licensees where managers are managers in multiple locations. But there is a hierarchy, and there are staff that are responsible for opening and closing the establishment, and she's in regular communication with them.
So you made a statement that there are restaurants that don't have a manager.
No, I made a statement that there are restaurants where the manager is not regularly. And I was comparing it to situations where the law recognizes and the ABC allows multiple managers to serve in multiple locations. So it doesn't absolve them of their obligation or responsibility, but I was noting the fact that it would not be a unique licensee to find that the manager isn't at the restaurant all hours that it's operating. And in this case, that is true. If the restaurant operates on a, as I said, it's largely an evening operation, and patronage as of late has been extremely light.
I can do a better job.
Yeah, but I'm a little bit troubled because your hours are typically during the daytime. Your attorneys just acknowledge the fact that, you know, the bulk of your business is really evening, but those are the times you can't be there.
So, I mean, it's not, I think to be clear, not that she can't be there. The demand, in her estimation, there wasn't that much to do when there's less than 10 people having dinner in the dining room, and you've got 2 staff people, one behind the bar, 2 people in the kitchen. She made a judgment that, call me if there's a problem, and here's what we do. So when we order food, we order alcohol, we meet during the week, we discuss those things. So the level of business activity has been so light, particularly during the earlier part of the observation times of January and March, but admittedly even this summer. But this has awakened Ms. Shabana to the fact that she needs to be there on a more regular, consistent basis, and she has begun that and will continue to be there regularly.
And then the other thing is with the entertainment license, when we host an event, I tend to bring in a lot of people. And I believe we have had special investigations certain nights where we had 80 people plus in the restaurant, and that's kind of, there's plenty of business to be handled and maintained on staff.
And those are the nights you've been present.
And I believe you.
Those
Yes,
are the nights.
oh, absolutely. And I have not had any of these in a long time. And it also have affected the business. The last event that I was planning on having, it was a DJ, and I've had done a really good job marketing the event. And I had Andrea had reached out to me and said, you cannot have
Ms. Boyer.
Ms. Boyer, you cannot have this event because of your license. I says, I apologize, I'm not aware of the fact that I need a special license for a DJ. I says, I certainly want to comply with the city wishes. I will cancel the event and turn down all the business that we have already booked. And I did. And this is actually what have started this whole investigation back in November. After I'd given her my word that I would cancel the event, then she had sent multiple times to check with the DJ. That was been echoed multiple times and part of the report, I believe. So that was kind of like another, the entertainment part tends to bring crowds, especially dinner crowd. They like to listen to music, and I just felt like there's been a lot of effort to go behind these things and really market it, and just it's been kind of difficult to do. Since we've had the conversation with her, I figure, the headache, let's just not do them. We'll discuss them later, and that was kind of why I haven't really had a big nights and big crowds and big turns. So that's what happened.
So you made a statement earlier that you have to do a better job. What does that mean?
I also also consult for some calculations.
No, but I mean,
No, I think.
in the context of the restaurant.
When you better job, you mean you need to be there
Oh,
more
I
regularly.
need to be there more regularly. Absolutely. I mean, I take directions. I want to comply. I want to do a great job in anything I do. I did not know that I need to be on premise like after 10 p.m. I will make sure that I'm there more regularly for sure. And I can certainly do a better job of that. Have a set schedule, so if anybody wants to come in, and here's their schedule. I mean, is that something specific that I should be doing to?
No, I think our concerns, quite honestly, were that you as the owner-manager be there more regularly because, as your attorney indicated, ultimately you're responsible,
Of course.
whether you're there or not there, right? And also, I think the greatest concern most operations have is late at night. That's typically when something could potentially go wrong.
Right.
So who's there, who's really being responsible, making sure that those things don't go wrong, right?
Right.
So, my concern is if you're just keeping your hours principally to the daytime and not doing a night business, even though it's light, you still run the risk that something could go wrong, and ultimately, your reputation and your license is at stake. And again, you couldn't come in and say that I wasn't there, so it's not my fault. We've heard that before. So ultimately, as long as the restaurant's open, you're ultimately responsible if you're there or not. So
I'd just like to ask the executive director if we've had a history of discipline at this location with this owner.
Not with this owner. None whatsoever with this owner.
So counsel, you're basically saying that she has been, has been there, but her hours are irregular, so you're saying that she has been showing up on a regular basis, although being not the nights that the investigation is up.
Yes, she is involved and present, but it would not, as Shabana indicated, she does not have a set schedule, she is not there regularly, and in the latter part of the evening when the business is very light, she has frankly not been there. And I think as a result of the issues that have been raised in this proceeding and the prior ones, she's modified her conduct, and she is there and will continue to be there with an eye towards transferring this, because the long-term solution, and not long-term, hopefully the short-term resolution here, is she is eager to sell the business. She does have another business interest, and the restaurant has not, for a variety of reasons, has not gone in the direction that they had hoped, because as she noted, there was some expectations around the entertainment license and such. So, yeah, she remains the manager of record, and is acknowledging that she needs to be there more regularly, and particularly with a focus on nocturnal or evening activity.
But your point here tonight is that she has been showing up and just not on those big nights and hasn't done a good job on the late night. You understand that she has been showing up on a regular basis, and this has not been a no-show situation on her behalf.
Yes, no question. That's what she tells me. She is. But when I guess I would, the regular basis was starting because it is admittedly irregular. But yes, she is. And she's very mindful of what the commissioner noted about the obligation and responsibility of the manager. And as I said, she is very eager to honor the commitments and the trust that was placed in her by the commission when they approved her appointment as manager.
As the commissioner pointed out, even though there's a very light crowd at 10 o'clock, it's usually those nocturnal hours where things tend to arise. Agreed, she's had no issues so far, but the late night is generally at the time when probably with more presence is needed, poppings than not.
Agreed.
I think I made a misjudgment based on there's no events, there's no crowds, and I do apologize.
Is there a motion on this matter?
Well, after hearing the testimony, I believe that the culpability with respect to not being here on the August 11th meeting has been explained. I accept that explanation. I agree that there is no tangible evidence to suggest that ownership was ever transferred to somebody else, that you still, in fact, maintain ownership, and you are the manager of record of that establishment. The issue still remains with respect to your being present on the establishment, I think more routinely than you have been, is the one issue that is a sticking point for me. In view of the fact that there has been no disciplinary matters with respect to your operation of the restaurant, I make a motion to place the matter on file. In fact, if there is a future violation, that matter would be taken into consideration for any future violations.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And one abstention.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.